we're live.
Hey.
Hey guys.
Oh yeah. Hey guys.
Bring us in. Ding us in.
Like NBC.
Yes.
Nice.
What's up? We're doing it.
What's up? Hopefully everybody's in a little bit better spirits than last week. I know I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I had a hell of a week.
Did you?
Yeah, last Friday, I was taking a shower and I felt this fucking lump on my butt. And I freaked the fuck out. And since it's gone away, it was like bruised. It was black and blue. But, dude, like I kind of lost it internally. And since then, I haven't had anxiety like that in a long time.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
No, he's serious. Because he sent me a picture. He was at a friend of his house. And so then he texted both of us the next day. And I shared what I thought it was just based on the fact that we watched Dr. Pimple Popper enough.
Justin knows these medical terms like skin and blood. It's really impressive. But
the thing that I don't like about this is the lack of social distancing with being at a friend's house.
Well, it got to the point where, look, I mean, I agree. We didn't get close to each other, even though I went to someone's place. But it got to the point where the social isolation and the terror of not knowing what was on my body, compounded with the fear of going to a medical facility if I needed to, I kind of lost it. I was like in tears. And yeah, I hadn't felt anxiety like that in a very long time. I shared a social media post just a couple hours ago where I kind of shared about that. But since then, I've completely changed my information intake diet because I realized like I need to start protecting myself for my own well-being and the information that's coming in right now. So yeah, I'm in a totally different state right now than I was a week ago when we last did this.
So based on that, I'm curious, of course, last week to this week, what has been the difference for everyone? What are we consuming?
Well, I think I was where you were last week, minus the pimple on my ass, which I haven't had.
It was a bruise. Let's get it straight. I think it was a bruise that's gone away.
Well, I think I was where you were last week, where I had already been just sucking in information from every possible source and reading everybody's posts, and it was just like overwhelming. And I think honestly, that was probably after our recording last week was probably the worst night that I had in a while. I had also taken some new vitamins, and I don't know whether it was my anxiety that was making my heart race or the combination of vitamins that was making my heart race. But like I was up till 3-4 in the morning, called my dad, he's a former pharmacist. I was talking to him about it. I talked to Justin the next day. But since then, I've really gotten into a pretty good regimen at home, a very specific schedule every day. I've taken on some new things that I'm really enjoying. And I am consuming very little amounts of news, only stuff that is needed or stuff that, like, before I read it, I check in with myself and I say, hey, am I in a good place to read this? And after I read it, will I still be in a good place? And if the answer is yes, then I'll continue down that road. And if the answer is no, then I don't bother reading it. And if it's something that I'm interested in, I'll like send it in an email to myself to read later, you know? And I found that to be really helpful.
Let's introduce Joe, because Joe's on the call right now, and he's in the UK. What's here, Joe? I got here. That's Joe's.
That was really fitting.
Audio.
Yeah, guys. Joe John Hamilton is on the call.
That's me.
Joey.
Joe, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, because we are on lockdown now in the UK. we've been told to stay indoors and only leave the house to exercise once, to go get food to the pharmacy, or to visit loved ones who need care.
Okay.
And since we've kind of been put in this scenario, my anxiety has been a lot better, because it's kind of like finally some clarification on the situation in some way. Because before it was kind of like, oh, it's probably going to lead up to this point. I don't know when it's going to be. Do I need to stockpile stuff? Do I need to run over to my parents' house and grab a bunch of equipment so I can do work? So to kind of be in this lockdown phase, which is going to last for I don't know how long, it's kind of like we've set up camp and can now just kind of wait it out.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. In that, like, I feel a comfort in being in a situation where I am, like, I've decided to be locked down. I've decided what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. It's a little bit different. So we're all in the same state, Joe, here in the States. We're all in Maryland. Mm-hmm. Our governor has closed down all non-essential businesses in the hopes that that has a very similar type of effect as what some states are doing, which is called shelter in place, which is essentially like you can only leave to go to essential places like the pharmacy or the doctor or the supermarket, or, like you have to pick up food. From what I've seen, it's working to some degree, for sure, in terms of social distancing. People are taking it a lot more seriously. But I'm trying not, going back to Jordan's, kind of comment before, I'm trying not to get too overwhelmed with a lot of other people or a lot of other states or a lot of other countries or even our country as a whole. And I'm just trying to think about on a daily basis, like, what can I do that I have control over? Like hunkering down, which gives a sense of peace and calm, like you're talking about, Joe. And then, is my family doing the same thing? And is there anything I can do to make sure that my family does the same thing? And there's definitely a comfort in that. And I'm kind of like ready to have this be the norm for a while. Like I'm embracing that. I don't want it to go back to normal anytime soon, because I don't think that we're anywhere near ready for that.
No.
So this feeling of safety is it's a good feeling, and it's a feeling of control, way more than I feel like I had, when we talked last week.
Yeah, I think for me, to kind of speak more to the changes since the last week when we spoke, and I feel significantly better today than I did last Friday night. And part of that with creating boundaries was realizing, like, there's only so much I can control, and there's only so much information that I need daily. Look, I want to understand this is where the world is, this is where the country is, this is where the state of Maryland is, and this is where Baltimore City and Baltimore County are right now. And one of the thought leaders, marketers, writers that I've been most influenced by is Seth Godin. And he shared some writing where he said, all you need to get what you need to know is 5 minutes a day. And that really struck me, and it really challenged me, because it didn't make sense that 5 minutes is all you really need. And I'm noticing that he's kind of right. I've found a handful of sources that I trust, and I'm getting the bullet points of information. I'm not watching press conferences. I'm sure as hell not watching the president. And I'm getting bullet points of what's relevant to me, definitely locally, but also more broadly, and using that to influence what my worldview is in that given moment, using that to influence what behaviors that I can engage in to help myself. And beyond that, my attention is just on protecting myself and helping myself. Because it's so easy to get just trapped in the habitual checking of social media, or turning on the news or going to a particular website and getting more information and more information. And much of the information either is opinion or analysis or just all kinds of fat that really doesn't pertain to us. For instance, what's going on in a specific hospital in Detroit. It's important, but is it important to me right now? And I think I've been trying to assess where my boundaries are with respect to that information. And it's made a huge difference for me.
I agree.
Nice. There's definitely something to say about staying in place and just acting locally, because like to Matt's point, Matt, you haven't really left the house in how many days?
I don't even know.
Right, and you're staying in place. So for all intents and purposes, if you just stay where you are with the people that are with you, there's not much of a chance of you now getting infected with something because you're not exposing yourself to anything.
Sure. The only exposure potential at this point that I have are, getting groceries delivered or Amazon boxes, and I'm taking the precautions there. There was a great video that was going around yesterday. I'm sure you guys saw it about how to handle groceries, how to wash groceries, how to put things away. I mean, that video went very viral.
Jordan shared that one with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing, if there was anything that I was slightly concerned about, it's on Monday, we have the movers coming to my house that is sold, and the movers are moving everything out. But even then, like when I go to the house and I'm dealing with those people, I'm going to be very careful.
Right.
I'll have gloves. I'll be aware to wash my hands. I may even bring my mask.
Right.
It's just, it's those small things you can control that can make you feel better. But again, going back to you, Justin, you have not been home in place at all. You've been out every day in a care facility, a medical facility. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a whole different side of it, and you're dealing with a whole different side of probably concerns. Do you have concerns? What are you worried about?
No.
Carly just left to go to work at a hospital.
Right. So no, honestly, no, I don't. I think it's actually been really healthy for me to be able to get up with that sense of purpose and that direction, and I know exactly where I'm going. It's not that, and I think a lot of people maybe talked about this in the podcast group, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this now that they're working from home or trying to figure out if they're not working, what are they going to do from home, having some semblance of a routine and something to focus on so they don't get lost in maybe the way of, to Jordan's point, of checking social media every 5 seconds and then listening for the latest quip of someone's either analysis or probably just opinion of what they think and when it's going to end and what's going on and whatever else the noise is that just clutters the mind. And for me, today marked 2 weeks at this new job in the midst of this craziness, but it's felt much more normal to be able to have this routine. I get up at a certain time. I get to work at a certain time. I do my normal checklist of this is what needs to get done. All things that people could be doing from home, but it's a little harder to self-motivate, I'm sure, with all of the uncertainty. People want an end date. People get stir crazy. What am I wearing? What am I doing? Whatever, right? What am I thinking about? What should I be working on? For me, it's a much different thought. It's going, and it's me just trying to think of what can I do? What can I do? And here I try to just look. I carry around hand sanitizer. I have an N95 mask. I have gloves. I have all the safety precautions that are at my disposal. I try my best to limit my exposure to other people, and I just do what I'm supposed to do. And I feel like that's kept me really mentally healthy in all of this. So I haven't really had that much time to consume whatever President Trump is doing, or sometimes I check in to hear what our governor, Larry Hogan, is talking about, just to see what's going on in our state. but I only have so much time and so much energy to pay attention to it that it's been therapeutic and very healthy for me to get up, go, do what I need to do, and not listen to all of the noise. And I'm just hoping that I stay healthy. And thus far, it's been good.
Right. That's good. Joe, a question for you, and I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I have been doing some reading in places where I feel good about reading, and it seems like the UK is really starting, or at least has a plan to start, really focusing on testing. Is that the case from what you've seen and heard?
Ooh,
Our
I've
British
been
correspondent.
Yes, reporting from Keynsham. I've been limiting my intake a lot as well.
Okay.
Because our Prime Minister has been doing these sort of daily briefings every day at 5 p.m., which I've been keeping up to date with, and I haven't really been doing anything else news-wise apart from that, because I figure, all being well, anything I need to know will be in that briefing.
Got it.
But I haven't heard that. And it's my understanding that we're still only testing people that go to hospitals. So,
Got it. So let me clarify. Not necessarily testing for people that are sick at the hospitals, but antibody.
Right, yeah, the antibody test. That is
Yes.
true. Yeah, I did hear that they're buying a bunch. But I do believe that's going to be mostly reserved for people working in hospitals.
Got it. Okay.
Because a lot of people are taking time off worrying, because if they have a mild cough or something, they have to go home and not work. And obviously we need everyone working that can work. So having the antibody test will obviously, it'll let people know if they've had it and are safe to come back. So they don't need to worry about showing minor symptoms again.
Yeah, I know that they're trying to, basically get that going here too, state to state and everywhere that possibly can, because that will help, at least to understand the data a lot better. And so, yeah, anyway, we don't need to spend too much time on that. I was just curious if you had heard anything specific, or if it's the kind of thing where the general population is going to be involved in any sort of widespread testing like that. But I guess we'll see. It remains to be seen at this point. But
yeah, I think that's always going to be the end game, but it's going to be a series of steps in rolling that out, in
Got it.
sort of addressing the priorities, I guess.
yeah, well, let's hope the priorities are all in the right place. Well, so guys, today we wanted to address a lot of the questions that we got from the Facebook group. Before we do that, Justin wanted to say something.
Just real quick, I was gonna post this in the group, and someone want to throw out the how do you get there, Jordan?
Facebook.com/groups/chocolate croissants, or just search chocolate croissants in the groups search bar on your Facebook app.
And one more, hit it please. One more time, Joe.
Facebook.com/groups/chocolate croissants.
See, people are gonna listen because he has an accent. Okay, so
Yeah.
something I wanted to put out there that I actually didn't, because Jordan's been doing such a wonderful job. I think Joe also posted, and Matt, of curating. Do you guys remember that thing? Remember concerts?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Right? Jordan and I were talking about. I sent him I have some framed posters I was gonna put up, and he was like, "Could you imagine a world without concerts?" And I was like, oh man, no, I couldn't. And I just wanted to share that everyone needs to go watch that Coldplay. I don't know how Tiny Desk is still releasing content from like mid-March, which kind of seems like we were in the midst of it, but they're still putting stuff out, which I think is wild. I think everyone needs to go check out the Coldplay one, and then whatever else they're still putting out. I can't figure out how they're still putting stuff out, but it exists, which is wonderful. Jordan,
I'd imagine that was recorded prior.
I don't know, man.
Beginning. And I would also suggest that from Joe's perspective, you, Justin, are the one with the accent.
I agree with that. Well, there's 3 against 1.
Everyone should go and watch the Code Orange video, which
That
they
was
did.
great. That was great.
It was album release show that got cancelled, but then they put it on with like a tiny production team and live streamed it, and it was fantastic.
That was great.
Agreed.
Justin and I did a workout weeks ago now where I had him listen to that record, and he liked it a lot, I think, because they were affiliated with the WWE.
They
Right.
were. I saw that.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually did the 4-6 this morning.
No.
Well, that gets us into what
Let's transition.
what I wanted to talk about, or at least what the group wanted to talk about. So we were going to answer some questions today. And the first question is, again, it's from the group, facebook.com/groups/chocolate croissants. Ryan Andrew Smith, shout out to Ryan from Massachusetts. He wrote a lot of stuff, but the main point of his question was, do you guys have any habits that you wish to gain or change during this time? And how do you determine what is a realistic change for you? So I definitely have some things to say there, but I'd love for you guys to chime in if there's anything in particular that you guys are doing during this time as far as habits, fitness, nutrition, anything that you've changed for the better. Jordan, you doing 4-6 today, that's awesome. Is that something that like you're trying to incorporate now into your daily habit or daily routine?
I think honestly, you posted it, and I started watching a bit more as an observer and started following along, and was like, well, fuck it, why am I not doing some of this? And it got my heart rate up, and that felt important. So yeah, I think I'll be doing more of that. I don't think physical fitness is one of the things that I've quite yet tackled, and some of that has just been because of some of the physical issues I've dealt with over the past week. Look, prior I shared about changing a huge habit of information intake. So to speak to the second question that was posed, it's just really paying attention to how do I feel? And that is always the North Star of, does this behavioral change, does it serve me or does it not? I have the self-awareness that I feel significantly less anxious and significantly more in control of how I use my time based off these behavioral changes. And it's a thing that I constantly monitor, not only daily, but just in many moments throughout the day. Beyond that, I've been working with a public speaking coach, and we had a session a couple days, or yesterday. And that is an area of my professional career that I'm very interested in expanding. I still often get hired to speak professionally, typically through a workshop type format where I'm in a circle with a group of people and facilitating rhythm experiences, but more importantly, facilitating conversation to make meaning of those rhythm experiences. And I'm interested in doing that more. I'm interested in doing that in a much more high profile way. And that's going to take for me a lot of time alone to not only self-reflect, but to write stories out. To kind of, I've identified many stories that I haven't shared publicly, and I really want to jot them down and start to refine them and speak them out loud to myself and to a video camera, and if that's still the terminology, and really and come out of this experience where I'm stuck indoors, which is the most unnatural thing for me. It's very I don't like it. I get energy from being out in the world and engaging in the public and being around that kind of social energy. So now that I'm forced to spend all this time indoors and alone, I think I will be spending a lot of time doing those kinds of things. So when daylight breaks and we can start engaging with the world again, I would have already done a lot of the work, and I'll put myself in a position to start sharing much more passionately and deeply and more frequently.
Nice. Joe, are there any routines in particular or like habits that you've been working on developing during this time?
The main change for me is doing workouts at home, because previously I would go to the gym or go climbing. So but when I realized like everything was going down as it said, I got a kettlebell so I could do something at home. So that was good. But otherwise not really, because my work was by myself in a room, 9 to 5 on a computer, and that's what I do now. So not that much has changed. I'm at home, which is nice because I'm with my wife more. My mother-in-law was staying with us until yesterday morning because Nat, my wife's dad, went to Italy, where it like all kicked off in Europe with work, and then came back, so he had to self-isolate for 2 weeks. So I said to Nat, why don't you invite her here so she can then at least continue with some sense of normality. So she only left yesterday, so it's kind of like we've reset again. So now I'm sure there'll be new habits formed going forward. So it's kind of like the first day again, almost, in the new sort of environment and schedule, I guess. But I'm just trying to keep my 9 to 5 work as much as possible.
Yeah.
Joe, with that kettlebell, Justin led you through a workout?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was great. Justin and I were working together before all this, trying to get my nutrition and energy and exercise in a better directory. So he helped me with a really great kettlebell workout, which was the one Matt posted on Instagram as well, I believe. So I've been doing that.
I'll just say, to save Justin from doing it, but if you want Justin as a personal trainer on your phone or laptop, in the episode notes, his Instagram handle is there at Justin Blake Goodman, and use discount code chocolate25 at checkout.
Which means, if you look, anyone right now who needs a workout or something to do, you're lost and you're just not sure where to start. You just want something to do because you're used to going to the gym, or you don't have a routine yet. You just want to do something healthy. Hit me up. I'll send you something to do. And if you're lost on how to do it, I'll film you a couple quick videos so you have an idea of what to do, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been sharing a little bit more of that. I know that I've been texting some of like my good friends, Matt, Joe included, of people who are, I know, really enjoy spending their time going to the gym, and it makes them feel mentally and physically healthy, and it makes them feel sane, and it's like one of their favorite things to do, just to have that release. And so I've just been, when I get up at 6 a.m, I'll write a quick workout. Matt can attest this because I tend to send it to him every day. If not, I get a text that says, "What you got for me?" and I just send it off, and then I just wait for Matt to tell me, "Oh, it was great." "Oh, it took me this many minutes," or "I got this many rounds in." So if anyone needs like a 10-15 minute quick workout, and you can always double that up or triple it up if you got the time and energy, let me know. I've got plenty of things I can write down.
300 damn swings today, bro.
I know, isn't that great?
That was great. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, look, we're talking about just having a daily WOD, like a daily workout of the day, and that's all it is. And that gives people a little bit more normalcy in times that don't really feel that normal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I definitely have gone into a very different routine than what I'm used to doing outside of work. Work I can do from anywhere, and I've been doing from anywhere for a very long time. So that hasn't changed, but the things around that work in pretty much every aspect of my life have changed, and it's things that I've purposefully decided to change for a number of reasons. And even prior to this happening, I was focused on some different health goals for myself. And I almost feel like this situation in some ways was serendipitous, at least in my mind, as a as something that would force me, or that has forced me into really enacting a lot of the things that I've been, doing a little bit or to some moderate fashion. I'm now doing full force every single day, and my schedule has changed a lot because of that. But there's a bunch of stuff, like Justin, I haven't really even talked to you about this. A bunch of other stuff that I'm doing aside from doing a workout every day. And if it's not something that you've sent me workout wise, Natalie and I both subscribe to Peloton because we have the bike. So if we don't do it on the bike, we do like the floor workouts, the body weight workouts. Those are fantastic to have access to. But my focus really is on doing it every day, unless for some reason, 1 or 2 days a week I feel tired. Okay, I'll listen to my body and I'll rest. But so far, I mean, I've been exercising every single day. Some days harder than others, but it helps me mentally. It helps me physically. I know I'm improving my health across the board in a lot of different ways. Couple that with the way that I'm eating right now. Meals are a thing of the past in some ways, where I'm not really sitting down and having, a big meal for lunch and a big meal for dinner and snacks in between. Like, I'm more so snacking on healthy things throughout the day at different times, but eating way less calories, eating really good calories, things that I know that my body needs right now, coupled with vitamins and the exercise I'm doing. So I'm just being very, very conscious of all those things, and I feel physically great because of it. The thing that's really new into my routine, which I'm really excited about, is about a week ago, just over a week ago, I signed up for the Wim Hof Method 10-week program, which I don't know if you guys are aware of, but anybody listening, check out the Wim Hof Method. So I'm in week 2 of that 10-week program right now, and it's pretty amazing. I've been really structuring my days based off of the teachings from that course, the homework that comes with it, and I have just felt really good, physically and mentally really good, combining the combination of exercise with breathing, with the meditation that comes with it, with eating well, with getting sleep, and then also with work that's been gratifying, and spending really good quality time with Natalie and the dogs. As scary as things are right now, especially compared to last week, I've been able to commit to a routine that allows me to retain physical and mental health. And I feel like, just to round this out, now is the best possible time to do that. Because if we want to get down to it and not, hide from the big elephant in the room, there's a health threat, right? There is a very real health threat that's killing people out there. And, having a strong immune system, eating well, getting exercise, getting good sleep, having a good state of mind, taking the right vitamins, all of those things affect the mental health, the physical health, your well-being, your immune system. So I'm looking at this as, I guess in this particular moment, as survival techniques, right? Like committing to a routine that's based around surviving, and more than surviving, thriving. But it's also something that I feel so good about that I don't foresee myself stopping the minute that we can walk outside again. I really feel probably physically the best I've ever felt right now. And that's not something that I would change now that I've touched this, So anyway, that I wanted to say that because if people listening don't have an idea of what to do, look for ways to improve how you eat, look for ways to improve exercising or starting exercising, look for ways to improve sleep, look for ways to improve, spending your time doing work, to be productive and to feel like you're accomplishing something. Look for ways to spend your time so that you can have fun and get some relief and, do something mindless, like watch the fucking Tiger King, which has been amazing. But like, there's just so many things you can do instead of feeling like you're spiraling out of control. And I want to direct that to my friend Mike, who posted a pretty heavy, and Jordan, I'll get to definitely talk in 1 second, and Justin too, but our good buddy Mike posted something pretty heavy today in the Chocolate Croissants Facebook group. And, aside from what I just said, it's just understanding that it's understanding the serenity prayer, right? I can only control what I can control, and the things that I can't control, I have no control over. So I'm not going to spend my time worrying about them. I'm just going to do things that will better prepare me and better occupy my time so that if I am faced with adversity, I'm ready for it. And that's right there. That's how I'm looking at my life right now. But it's something I'm going to very much so carry with me beyond this snapshot in time.
I think it's very well said, very valuable to anyone listening, including myself. So thanks, Matt, for sharing all that. I just wanted to name check a couple people in the group because you're essentially answering a lot of their questions. So Ahmad out in Syria, Dylan in Kentucky, and Brian in New Jersey. Specifically, Brian, his pointed question was, in what ways are you finding positive opportunities in this situation? And Matt, I think you really answered that really beautifully. And I agree. This is an opportunity, whether we choose to do something about it or not, and how we proceed. That is 100% up to us. Not only in the behaviors that we engage in from day to day, but also our perspective, our mindset in how we move through this. This is an incredible opportunity to really work on ourselves, to really work on our relationships. I know I've reached out and connected to people, through FaceTime and phone chat whom I haven't talked to in a while. This is giving us a lot of time, and it's really a check to what was considered our quote normal routine prior to this beginning. And it's my hope for myself and for everyone listening that we take advantage of this incredible opportunity to really look within, to assess what's working, what's not, and to really start applying our time well. And what Matt said, creating new habits, creating new lifestyles that when this is over and we get these things that many of us took for granted, whether that's sitting in a restaurant, whether that's hugging a friend, whether that's going to a concert, we can enjoy those things, of course, with much more gratitude and understand the preciousness of those things. But also the new habits that we've created for ourselves, we not only continue living those out once we get back to something closer to a quote normal, but these improved versions of ourselves we get to share and express with the world. And if all of us do that, then we will be living in a much more compassionate and enjoyable world together.
Yeah, agreed. Well said. There's a guy who actually just went on a Wim Hof before all of this, maybe a month ago, hosted a lot of highly influential people, a lot of people that Matt and I would follow, one of which was Jesse Itzler. And he talks a lot about, and he has a course on building your life resume. And I mentioned this to a loved one the other day of, just think about where you currently are and maybe use this time to think of, hey, I might live another 4, 5, 6 decades, 7 decades on this earth. What else do I want to check off experience-wise for my life resume? What else could I be doing? And so, look, I think we talked about this last week. You could learn a new language. You could practice something new. I'm really fortunate for the position that I'm currently in at work because I feel like I'm applying everything that I learned in studying nutrition and leveling myself up as a dietitian. So every day that's kind of like a big focus of my practice. But it's also nice that then I have this downtime after like putting the work in for the day. I can come home and if I want to, I can do something mindless, or I actually have time to sit down. Like I asked my fiance for books, some books that I wanted to read, so that I can actually have time to sit down and enjoy a book, which I mean, a lot of people currently, instead of just maybe mindlessly, aimlessly watching Netflix and some other show, shout out to Tiger King, Ozark season 3 that just came out today.
I can't wait to start that. We're going to start that tonight.
We're already feeling like, oh my God, I can't take it. But look, it's the thing where we can still sit down and have a routine to do all these things that maybe we lost in the sauce of working 40 hours a week, and you come home tired, and things maybe aren't as ideal as they want to be, like this, that I'm going to go, what? I'm going to send her outside. But yes, just the luxury of being able to sit down and read a book has been highly rewarding, and then also at work, just kind of leveling up in that stuff. And to me, that's plenty of stuff to work on right now.
Go give your dog a book to read.
I know, look.
That's the first time I've ever heard you use the term lost in the sauce.
Yeah, man. It's easy to get lost in the sauce. Oh, and actually, one more thing I wanted to say is what Matt said, Wim Hof. And if anyone knows about holotropic breathing, that's a lot of Wim Hof's method. I started consciously, I started just taking deeper breaths in through my nose. And I was actually curious. Two things. I actually think Wim Hof has released a free course right now that everyone can download.
Yep.
Right. And
yeah, his app. One, he's been doing guided breathing on his Instagram pretty much multiple times a week. He just put out I don't know if it's just, but he has an app that you can download with free guided breathing on there. And I think on his website there's a free version of the course. And I mean, we're not medical doctors, but I can certainly say that it has been, even in this short period of time, fucking life-changing for me.
And I'm sure Jordan can speak to that, because Jordan, I know, has done a lot of work with breath and breath work for himself. And I was just curious, week 2, is there any component of cold showers yet?
Yeah, I mean, it starts in week 1. Week 1, you end every shower that you take with, 30 seconds to a minute of cold, and then you get out. Week 2, that changes to now, you start your showers as cold as you can take it for at least 30 seconds. Then you do warmth, wash up. Then you do another cold session for 30 to 60 seconds. Then you go back to warm, and then you end it finally with cold at the end. So that's week 2. So, and I got to say, like, it's amazing the difference from week 1 to week 2. Like, I look forward to taking the cold showers because
it's awful. It's so tough. But it's a good stress.
Yeah, at first it's really tough. And sometimes when you do, you have to get in there, it's a scary thing, but like part of the teaching in this is being able to use your mind to physically prepare yourself for something that's about to be coming, that's a hard challenge. So, like, for example, I don't just, like, willy-nilly jump in a cold shower because it is very uncomfortable. I spend a good 5 to 10 minutes before I know I'm going to shower mentally thinking about getting into the cold, knowing what it's going to feel like, what kind of response I'm going to have, how I'm going to handle it, the type of breathing that I'm going to do, and knowing that I've done it before and that I can continue to do this every day. And every day that I do it becomes easier and easier. And in fact, it's now a very enjoyable thing, and it's like a fun challenge that I look forward to every time I'm getting in the shower.
There's a massive component to it. And a lot of people right now are buying these like horse troughs and filling it up with cold water and doing cold dips every morning. One, it just stimulates their system and shocks them and makes them feel like alive and ready to go for the day. But I know a big part of that method of doing those cold showers is going in and not hyperventilating is really being able to control the breath through it and controlling your response to it. Correct. And I think this could be a great challenge maybe that a lot of us decide. I mean, I'm in, I think Jordan, and Joe probably would be in as well. Matt's already started it. Maybe Matt wants to start over with us. But I think this could be a thing that all of us take on together. And then it's another thing that, hey, we're in this together. We're leveling up together. We do this practice together. We can all talk about it. And it's something that we take the focus away from maybe the bad stuff that's going on. Not that we ignore it, but at least we shift the focus from that to something that is helping all of us level up.
Well, you guys should try it. Check out the app because there's a cold water challenge on the app. There's the 30-day breathing challenge on the app. There's a ton of, breathing and breath work is a gigantic community. It's a gigantic practice. And there's so many different methods and so many different styles that have different outcomes and different purposes. This one in particular, I really wanted to take on because the focus is on developing a strong immune system, developing mental toughness with also physical toughness and physical strength. And it was just the right one for me. But there's a ton of different breathing arts out there that you can research and learn about that at the very least. And I would argue that every and any single type of breath work that you can take advantage of now, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, will at the very least help you reduce some of that stress and anxiety that is very prevalent in the world right now. So if you're listening to this and you are struggling with a lot of the stress and anxiety, I would say one of the first things to start looking for is a breathing method that you can relate to, and just go on YouTube and look up like breath work, or look up Wim Hof, or go on your iPhone or your Android and go to the App Store and look up breathing, and you'll find a ton of different apps that come up that offer guided breathing techniques and different things, and just try one because it will make a massive difference in how you feel.
WIMHOF, just because it's a weird spelling.
Wim Hof, yeah, WIMHOF, and it's the Wim Hof method.
Right.
Yeah.
Jordan, you want to speak to the breathing?
Briefly, and I know Joe, I think, had something to contribute. I'm going to be so brief. Look, the reason we practice these things, and really any coping skill, from more of a counseling or a psychotherapy perspective, we practice and develop these skills so we can use them, especially when we need them most. Last Friday night, I was in a crisis mode. I was freaking the fuck out internally, freaking out emotionally, and thank God I had and understood and recognized the power of my breath. And I think it's great to maybe set aside 5 minutes a day or 15 or 50 minutes a day to practice a certain breathing technique. At the same time, just one breath, and I shared this at the end of last episode, the power of one breath can shift our state. And the quality of our breath determines the quality of our state. So that is something that we have control over. When we feel anxious, our breath rate is much quicker. The breath often gets stuck or caught more toward the top of our chest, and we really don't let it fill the belly. And for me, thank God I've spent a very long time practicing this because I needed it. And even though my emotional brain was firing and some of the logic was harder to access, it's become like a muscle memory to return to the breath, and that helped me tremendously. Joe, I don't know if you had something to contribute to the breathing conversation specifically. If you do, I'd love to hear it, but also the broader conversation about using this is an opportunity in our lives right now to create new habits, whether it's developing new skills or developing relationships with ourselves or other people. You're creating like donuts, animated donuts. What is that? Yeah. That's amazing.
So I've always been really interested in like 3D modeling and rendering. and I've always wanted to try and learn how to do it. And now I've got some extra time. I thought I'd finally try. So there's I can't remember what the guy is called, but I'm using a program called Blender, and I just looked up like Blender tutorial, and there's a really great dude who I've been following who shows you how to render and model a realistic donut on a plate and a coffee mug. So I've been doing that, and it's been super cool.
It looks great. Now the next challenge is the chocolate croissant.
That's considerably more challenging to make a photorealistic chocolate croissant, but I will try one day for sure.
Sick.
Out of curiosity, because I'm very ignorant towards the 3D printer, the cost. What would be the cost of printing one donut?
Well, what I'm doing is not printing; it's all digital. But my dad has a what?
It's building of sorts. What's going on here?
So what I'm doing, it's like, like Pixar animation, Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff is like not hand modeled, but modeled on a computer with like polygons and shapes. And then you put that into like through animation with rigging, and then eventually it ends up in like a render software where you get all the lighting and you denoise it and all that stuff. So I'm learning like the very, very basic steps of that.
That's really cool. I don't know if you know this, Joe, but when Des and I took a trip out to Los Angeles a bunch of months back now, one of Des's really good friends works at, I think it's DreamWorks, pretty sure is where we were. Anyway, he showed us what he was working on, and he's into rendering. And just, it was like the amount of time, like a month that he spent on like a maybe 15 to 20 second scene was just so mind blowing to see how it works and what he particularly is doing, how many people actually work there, and how many people work on an animated film like that one. It was pretty cool. It was very cool to see. So the fact you're getting into that is pretty neat.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Toy Story 4, the latest one?
No. 10 minutes into it on a flight to Hawaii, and it didn't hook me to stick with it.
Watch it. I watched it last night for the first time, and it kind of blew my mind a bit.
I think it was hard watching on a phone.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Because there was like genuinely some really beautiful scenes and shots in it. There was like a 5-minute one shot of just like two characters walking down a street in the rain, and it was amazing. There was some really like stunning cinematography in it, and it's very different to the first three in terms of like feel. It's a lot more sort of. It's more mature, but then there's also more like funny one-liners and stuff. It's really good.
Cool. And I mean, I was moved, especially by the third film.
I cried like a baby last night watching this film.
That's amazing. Well, I love that experience, and I've got time now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to watch all four.
Yeah.
So, Joe, here's a question, which I think is more in your realm than anybody, and we briefly touched this before, but this is from Greg Aletta from Florida, and he was just asking, like, if you have, or if anyone you know has taken advantage of VR and, like, in particular, virtual reality meetups, or if you've even thought about that, or if now that I'm mentioning it, or that Greg mentioned it, you will take advantage of something like that? Because don't you have a VR rig? Didn't you play one of the
I played Resi 7.
Yeah,
VR.
Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
When did 6 and 7 come out?
6 came out like 6 years ago, maybe.
7 was like what, last year?
No, I'd say a year before, maybe. Shit, or last year.
That's
the
a
classic
Crazy
is
Family.
Yeah, right? It's very Texas Chainsaw, but then mixed with like also kind of cosmic horror stuff. It's very cool.
Spencer played it on one of our tours, and I always love watching him play. It was terrifying.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So
But,
describe what VR, like an experience where we would be communicating in virtual reality. What could that look and feel like?
Well, it depends, I guess, on the platform. VR, as far as I'm aware, for like realistic face-to-face meetups, isn't really there yet. So it would be more like the sort of things you have on your phone where it turns your face into like an emoji or something. As far as I'm aware, that's kind of where VR sort of social interactions at. There's a I don't know, it's not a game, but called VR Chat, and there's been loads of memes born from it. Did you see the I will show you the way meme with Sonic or no Knuckles?
No.
Dude.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. But I think it's a cool idea. I have been wondering if people are going to be sort of escaping more into VR during this time, and there is a part of me that finds that a little bit worrying, because I think losing yourself in a sort of virtual space too much probably isn't a good thing right now, because I think a really important thing is to try and stay social and grounded as much as you can. But I've been playing more VR for sure, but I think for social meetups, I probably want to see people's real faces, like we're doing now on Skype. Like I did a family group call with my family earlier, and that was really great, and I felt really good afterwards. But you know, I've also been playing COD with friends on PS4, and that's been really fun and relieving also.
Speaking of more natural experiences beyond just socially, Joe, I'm not really sure what your living situation is. So, I mean, do you have access safely to experience nature right now?
Yeah, we have a small garden, like 5 by 5 meters or something, which is nice. We got some chairs and a table out there, so we can just chill in the garden.
That's cool. Because I mean, I'm now so just appreciating the access to nature and really appreciating how literally natural it is to just walk outside. I feel overwhelmingly better in those moments.
And we can still take our dog for a walk every day. And where we live, like a 10-minute walk, we get into a nice open field next to a river. So that's very important to be doing for the dog as well. Yeah, but no, nature is good at the moment for sure.
Yeah,
I'm curious, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but I think is the game that a lot of people play Second Life.
That is old school.
That's
Very
really
old.
So
Yeah.
I'm just I guess I'm thinking of if there was something similar to that, at least then people could kind of virtually get out of the house and have an experience. But it's also, to Joe, your point of people should be kind of feeling this, and you could have experiences like what we're currently having, where we don't necessarily get to go somewhere together, but we're together, and that's very different from if you created, you know, a different version of yourself or the person you would want to be, or just you create it yourself. Like if you watch The Office, Dwight created himself within, right, which was awesome. But that's a thing where potentially there would be maybe and maybe someone in the group can share with us that this does exist, that people could go have an experience together virtually and still feel some sort of normal satisfaction that they would if they were able to go experience that stuff together. And of course, look, the three of us are in different places right now, and then Joe is really far away from us, whereas Matt and Jordan, you know, the two of you and I could get together and go do something if none of this was happening. But Joe, of course, that would be a much different game. So then maybe, I don't know, maybe someone actually knows of something that feels a little more realistic that you could actually get into to go have an experience together.
Well, a lot of people are using Google Hangouts and Zoom and Skype, and
Right.
it's been great. It really is. I think it's funny. While we were on this call, Natalie's sister sent a Zoom link for the whole family to hop on.
Nice.
You know, and if any, it's funny you're talking about this virtual reality thing, and it just makes me think about episode 1 of the newest season of Black Mirror. I think it's episode 1, but anybody who hasn't seen that, go watch that. You guys should watch that. Speaking of VR and video games, you should check that out. It's interesting.
The last gaming console I owned was a PS2, and I only had like Madden 2001.
I think we had Resident Evil though for that.
I don't know, and I can't even use it. There's the DVD Memento, a movie I've never even seen, is stuck in there.
Oh, that's such a good movie.
So I'd like to switch gears real quick. Brittany Scott asked the question. So and I've known Brittany for a while, but she says Illinois instituted statewide shelter in place. We're only supposed to leave for essential tasks. I'm in my first semester of grad school, which was a transition already, but now the semester is entirely online, and I've never done that before. Would love to know if you guys have any tips on working at home. And I do. There's 2 things I want to mention. One, definitely write out your schedule the night before. So whatever work you have to do on a daily basis, plan what you're going to do and the hours in which you're going to do it before. And if you can, like, schedule in other things like the kind of stuff that we're talking about, or reading a book, or calling a family member, whatever. Schedule in those things just like you would an actual work or school task, so that your days are really filled up and you have a good regimen in place. But something that I have found that helps me, that's helping my wife, and I'm sure it helps a lot of people, is don't just roll out of bed and like spend all day in fucking pajamas. Like, literally get dressed like you would go out somewhere. Put on your work clothes or what you would wear to school, and get in a physical setting just as much as you would have the mindset for it. That has made a big difference for me. When I get up in the morning, I don't just roll downstairs in a sweatshirt and sweatpants. Like, I brush my teeth, I do all my morning stuff, and then I put on my normal pants, my normal shirt, and I get ready for the day, just like I would if I were going out. So that's a big one, because it does help you to get in the game a bit for what you have to do. And then, you know, it kind of helps when you wrap up your work day or whatever you're doing, and you transition into the nighttime or the evening, when you can take your shower or do whatever it is you do, and then change into your relaxing, comfortable clothes for relaxation. You know, that's a huge thing that I'm wondering if a lot of people may overlook, and that in and of itself can help you feel a little bit more sense of purpose when you're tackling the things you have to do now at home that used to be out in public.
I'd agree with all that. Just also, I'd add, for me, it helps to have a designated place or space to be productive. So definitely, I'm not gonna have a meeting on the phone, or I'm not gonna sit down and write something up in my bedroom, or especially sitting in my bed. I try to keep the bedroom like for that, and kind of protect the sacredness of that space. I don't want to associate my bed or the bedroom with productivity in that way.
Sure. Justin, were you gonna say something?
Yeah. I was gonna say, exactly to Jordan's point, I think everyone should set up a designated, whether it doesn't have to be anything specific, but it's great to have if you can have a desk or a place that you go to, that you get in the mindset of this is work. I mean, look, the bed is, to Jordan's point again, a really sacred place. It really should be only for when you go in to lay down and relax. It shouldn't have your brain think of, this is the place where I play on my cell phone, this is where I lay in bed and play on my computer or do work or watch TV. It's really just a place where you go in there, and you should have your brain should know that when I go in that bedroom, this is like when I actually get really good rest. Carly, interestingly, to this is in the same predicament. It's not her first semester though, it's her last semester. And I know a lot of people that are finishing up or are somewhere in the midst of school, and everything is now transitioned. And we've already talked about it, that if if for her clinical days, she's going to have to do stuff online, as well as she's been doing this now for 3 years, where once a week she has to get on for a virtual class. It's a thing where you have to prepare yourself, but now it's going to be even more. So we've already started talking about where do we want to set up a designated place for work, because I did a lot of studying over the last couple of years and really the last couple of months for an exam. And it was really tough for me that I didn't do a good job of finding a balance. I felt like any hour, any minute of any day I could be studying. But to Matt, to your point, I think it is really important that you get up with a sense of purpose and you do your normal routine as if you were going somewhere. You get dressed with a purpose and you sit down in a place where you know you've now flipped the switch. Now it's time to work. And you build in breaks. There should be breakfast. There should be, if you eat breakfast, there should be lunch if you eat lunch. There should be time where you take a 20-minute walk. I mean, you should have all of this stuff maybe built into your schedule, as to Matt's point of making a schedule of everything. You know, making sure you're highlighting the most important things. You knock those out first, and then you stick to a routine. And then when you're done, there needs to be an endpoint every day. It's not a 9 to 9 at night. It's 9 or whatever time you start to, there's an end time, and then you close the stuff down and you walk away. And when you then switch the mindset, now it's time to actually relax. And you can relax because you've put the work in. And I think to anyone who's going through this, it's going to be a little bit of trial and error. Maybe it only takes 3 hours. Maybe it only takes an hour. Maybe you really do need to put in 6 or 8 hours a day, or 10 hours. But whatever the case is, you figure out what you need to do and you try to stick to that routine with built-in breaks as if it was a normal day. Proceed as normal, even though you're in a different environment. And when you're done, try your best to learn the boundary of, I'm going to cut it off and I'm going to go do something else. You deserve to now relax because you've put the work in.
And you'll get better and better at that. Joe, yeah, one sec. You'll get better and better at this. And over time, you'll be able to, you'll know how to be a little bit more flexible with it. Like,
right.
At first, if you're going to do this, one, don't overwhelm yourself with too many things in the day. You know, be kind to yourself and realize it's a new thing. So you don't want to put too many different milestones throughout the day that you need to reach and you put pressure on yourself. It shouldn't be like that. But just put the main things in, start slow, and then as you get better and better at it, you can start to add more things to it. Or you can even kind of decide to trade different things, you know, switch. Well, maybe it makes more sense to do this today first, then this second, or vice versa. Or you allow more time for something or less time for something. Or if you finish something even faster, then, you know, you can substitute things. But the framework is the thing that's so important initially, and the mindset and the physical appearance and the way you present yourself to yourself for that day in this situation is going to make a big difference in how you feel. Joe, what were you going to say?
Just two things, really, I guess. I was originally going to say make a space to do it, but I think to expand on that a bit, make it a nice space. Don't just like choose the corner of a table which has loads of other crap on. Sort of really, even a room, if you can, find a room to kit out and get a nice desk and, you know, get some plants in or something, and really designate a kind space for yourself to be productive. And I know for me, if like I'm surrounded by mess, that raises my anxiety even. I get really stressed by it. So like today I took time and cleaned the house, and it's made me feel really fresh. And that makes me feel more productive and able to work. But the other thing I would say is, if you're not used to working from home, there are tons and tons of really great productivity software tools that can really, really help. One I use is called Shift, where you can get like multiple email accounts open on a toolbar, so you can switch between them really quickly, and you can load like WhatsApp and like Slack and all sorts into it. And tons of companies at the moment are rolling out free subscriptions or extended trial periods because of everything that's going on. So if you're being frustrated by limitations of like software or emails or something, just take the time to have a Google and see if there's some tool which could make life easier, because it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, that's I don't know about you guys, but I feel way better after this recording than I did last week. I left last week's feeling like overwhelmed and frankly stressed out and scared of what was happening, and didn't have this routine locked down, and it was just rough. It was, but it was a turning point that night in like realizing that I need to fucking really get my shit organized for this new lifestyle. But it's nice to be here this week from a different vantage point, hopefully helping people that may have been where myself or Jordan really were last week, you know. And Joe, I asked you this, I forget when we were chatting about it, but I was asking, like, you know, how's your level of anxiety with this? How are you doing with this? And, you know, you surprised me with your answer of being like, you know what, I'm pretty calm. And this wasn't today. I mean, this was a week or two ago whenever we were talking about it or texting. I can't even remember the days, but it's just good to see that I think everybody, at least on this call, has figured out a little bit more of how we're managing this situation, and my hope is that it's rubbed off for any of the listeners. So we do have other questions, but we are still planning on doing more episodes, so we'll address those then. If anybody else in the group, facebook.com/groups/chocolate croissants, wants to ask any questions, there's some threads already where you can post, but I'm sure we'll start some new ones even for this week where you can chime in for any thoughts, advice, questions, whatever, for any one of us. But hopefully this has been helpful. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to say, but for me, this is a good point to wrap up, I think. And, you know, everybody just do your best with what's happening right now. There's an importance to absolutely worrying about other people and the world and your community and everybody around you right now. But you have to remember that you really won't be any good to any one of those people if you don't take care of yourself first. And that should be the first step. Figure out how you can put yourself in a good position with what's going on, even if it takes a couple weeks or however long, so that at that point, once you're good, you can then focus on others. But until then, don't stress too much about everything else that's happening around you. Focus on how you can get yourself right. That's some advice that I've received before, and it really applies right now more than ever, I think.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's the best you can do right now is taking care of yourself, and that helps that helps the group for sure, and then helps everyone around you. Just to make a point so we don't forget, we're gonna put the Wim Hof method. We'll put that somewhere in the Facebook group for everyone. Anybody who wants to, we'll start a thread for anyone who wants to start it. I'm down to start it tomorrow. Maybe Joe and Jordan will join me as well. Matt has already kicked in and inspired and into it, and I'm glad you brought that up. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a fitness thread, because a couple of people I know, and we can address those next week, had asked about fitness tips. Whatever I'm sending around workout for the WOD, the workout of the day, I will post that in the group. If people want me to post a clip of how to do each of those moves, I'm more than happy to shoot a quick video, as I've done for Joe, and I even got Matt to demo a few things for Joe as I commentated, which was very rewarding, and it was awesome. And I'm glad we've gotten to form that relationship, and I think all that's going great. So if I can help in that way, I think that would be awesome. So I'll start sharing those. We're going to do the Wim Hof method together, and I'm going to pass it off to Joe if he has anything, and if not, back to Jordan for a ding.
Joe?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Joe?
Just be kind to yourself as well. Let yourself take moments in the day. I was thinking the other day, road rage is a thing, because when we are driving, we are in a heightened state of stress subconsciously. So if something happens, we're already at an 80% stress level. So we go from 80 to 100, whereas if we were just on the sofa, we'd be going from 10 to 30. So if you're finding yourself feeling anxious and stressed and not knowing why, it's because there's so much tension and stress in the air and everywhere. So we're already at this sort of raised base level of stress. So don't worry if things seem harder than they normally are or do, and just take a moment to love yourself and take.
Yeah.
I just want to share one more thing. If anyone can see, there's a wreath there on our door. This has been like one of this is like the most fun thing to track right now, which is like completely void of what's going on, which is really cool. There's a bird nest between the wreath and the door, and we keep checking in with it, and every day there's another egg, and the bird the mama bird just keeps sitting in there. And it's fun because we can see the tail sticking up through the door. And so now we've got this whole routine of like, well, wait, should we go out the other door in the garage, the breezeway, and like let them be? So look, finding other things that not necessarily distract you, but just remind you that like other things are going on and everything's going to be okay. And watching life happen like this at our doorstep is just another great reminder that it's all going to be okay, and we're going to get through this.
Hell yeah. What a great episode, guys. I feel significantly better because of this conversation. So I want to thank all of you. I'm not going to share any advice right now. I think Matt, Justin, and Joe gave plenty of just mindset and ideas that can really help us throughout the next week and beyond. What I want to end on, I posed a very simple question in the Facebook group today, and it was simply, where are you right now? And for me, I think the value in it was to get a sense of the community, the worldwide community, that and just the gift of technology to help us feel not alone. What we are going through is literally global, and just going through it, like very briefly. Obviously, there's many of the states in the U.S., but Canada, Denmark, England, Poland, Ireland, Syria, so on and so on and so on. And so if you're not in the group, again, I'd like to invite you into the Facebook group. And if you haven't commented in that thread, go ahead and just go through and see that we are truly in this together. I live alone, but I'm not alone. And I'm very grateful for that. So with all of that, we hope you have an incredible day, an incredible night, an incredible week ahead. And until next time, bye-bye.